All right, hello 205. I will be sending this assignment to your parents, those of you who want to do some makeup work for quarter three. This is the district is offering up to 5 points for each student. So one of the assignments is this one. I've got a previous video where I taught you guys how to write a persuasive paragraph. All I need you to do is watch my video and follow along with me, and then write your own paragraph using this prompt right here, this one that says write a paragraph that would convince your teacher to go on a class trip. So you guys are going to write that on any piece of paper, and your parent can take a picture and send it to me. And then the second part of this assignment for ELA is to watch this video that I'm making right now about story maps. And then you're going to read your own story or narrative, and you're going to map the story using the chart below. So this is the chart. It'll be sent to your parents, but we're also going to just draw our own today. You don't have to print this or anything. And then they can just snap a picture and send it to me. So we're going to do this together. I have with me paper and pens or pencils so that I can write, and then for you guys, that means your parents can take a picture. So just follow along with me as I model how we're going to go ahead and do a story map. We're doing this because the district packet for the rest of the year has lots of texts and stories where you're supposed to be finding key details. And key details in a story are the ones that answer who, where, when, what, why, and how, which we've talked about before. That's that standard that we've been working on all year, so you guys should be masters at this. We're going to do it just using this story map today. All right, let's go ahead and read together. Our text today is Brad's backpack, and it is a story. Remember, you need to pick a story or narrative to be able to do a story map. So it should be so don't choose a nonfiction text or informational text. You want to choose one that's a story. All right, here we go. Every morning, each student in Mr. Lin's class put his or her backpack into a cubby. That is, everyone except for Brad. He had a habit of dropping his backpack on the floor by the classroom door. Every day, Mr. Lin asked him to put it away. Every day, Brad didn't listen. One morning, Brad dropped his backpack on the floor as usual. He sat down at his desk. He wondered when Mr. Lin was going to see that he had done it again. A few minutes into class, Nikki raised her hand. Mr. Lin called on her. What do you guys think Nikki is going to do? I want you to pause the video to answer this question with someone around you. So first question I have is, who are the main characters of this story? So you can pause the video and answer with somebody around you. Okay, so the main characters of this story are Brad, looks like Mr. Lin, and then we've got somebody named Nikki who's been introduced. Where is this story taking place? What is the setting of this story? Go ahead and pause and answer to somebody around you. So the story is taking place in a classroom, it looks like, at school. And then now my question is, so it says a few minutes into class, Nikki, oh wait, no, my other question, sorry. Blech. My question is, what is the problem seem to be? What does the problem seem to be? What is sort of Brad's problem? Go ahead and pause and answer. You can keep looking at the text if you need to reread it. Okay, yeah, so the problem is Brad leaves his backpack on the floor every day. That sounds like some people that I know in my class. Interesting. Okay, so now Nikki raises her hand and Mr. Lin calls on her. What do you think? Make a prediction. What do you think Nikki is going to say? I think Nikki will say, or I predict that Nikki will say, so pause and tell somebody what you think. Okay, so I predict that Nikki is going to tattle on Brad. That's what I think is going to happen. But let's go ahead and continue reading to see what she says. Nikki said, "I feel sick." She added, "Can I go to the nurse?" Then Nikki jumped up, covering her mouth. She ran for the garbage can next to the door. She didn't make it. Nikki threw up all over the floor and all over Brad's backpack. Ew. Okay, what happened? What just happened in the story? Tell somebody next to you. Okay, yeah, so Nikki felt sick and needed to go to the nurse, and on her way, she threw up all over Brad's backpack. Why did she throw up on Brad's backpack? How did that happen? The why is because we found out at the beginning of the text that Brad does not put his backpack into the cubby. He has a habit of dropping his backpack on the floor by the classroom door, right? That was the problem that Brad has. Okay, let's keep reading. She didn't make it. Nikki threw up all over the floor and all over Brad's backpack. The next morning, Brad walked to the back of the classroom. He put his new backpack into a cubby. Okay, so Brad's problem was that he was throwing his backpack on the floor at the front of the classroom. Some events that took place are that Nikki felt sick and she went running to go to the nurse, and she didn't make it to the nurse or to the trash can, and she threw up all over the floor and all over Brad's backpack. And now the solution for Brad is what? What did he do to solve his problem of being lazy? Tell somebody around you. Okay, yeah, so he solves his problem by putting his new backpack away in his cubby like he's supposed to. Okay, so what we're going to do together, we have already talked through all of our key details, all of those, answering those questions. You didn't even notice you were doing it. You answered who, where, when, what, why, how, okay? So we're going to do together. So on your paper, you're going to write the title of the book or the title of the story. So you can go ahead and write title and write a line, or don't write a line, whatever, just as long as I know what the title of your story is. So in our case, the story title is Brad's Backpack, okay? So I'm going to write Brad's Backpack, and that's just so that I know what story you read as you're doing your story map. Okay, the next part of our story map, if you want to, you can draw like a head or a face. So we'll draw sort of for me, I'm going to draw a circle, and that's where I'm going to put my characters. Okay, and then right here, I'm going to draw a house or somewhere, a box of some sort where I can put the setting. Okay, so I'm drawing like a sort of a house. That's where the story takes place. So I've got the who, I've got the where, and then I'm going to draw 3 more boxes. One where I'm going to put the problem. One where I'm going to put events that happen in the story. And then finally a box that says solution. How did the characters solve the problem? Okay, so hopefully you have drawn something that looks like this. You've got your title, you've got a circle for characters, a house or a box for setting, and then you've got 3 boxes for problem, events, and solution. So I'm going to grab a different color marker, and I am going to fill mine out based on the story that happens with Brad. Okay, so we've already answered these questions, but who are the characters in the story? I'm not going to write complete sentences. This is just a story map. It's a graphic organizer where I'm kind of putting notes. So characters, Who are our characters? We said Brad, Mr. what's his name? Mr. Lin. We can go back to the text if we need to. So I'm going to go back to the text. It says Mr. Lin. Yep. Okay, Mr. Lin. And then the girl who threw up, Nikki. Okay, so I've got my characters written in. You are going to write the characters from the story that you read. Okay, what's the setting? We said that it was a classroom. We could add that it's in a school, probably, or people just know that a classroom is in a school. If you forget, you go back to your text and you look and see, where does this story take place? Sometimes it doesn't say this story takes place in a forest. It might just be obvious kind of based on what's happening. Okay, what was the problem in the text? So I can go back to the text and look, but you guys remember, or you can go back in the video to remember when I asked you kind of what the problem is. I know that the problem is, and this one I'm going to do in complete sentences, Brad does not put away his backpack. Brad does not put away his backpack. Okay, so I've put that in my problem box. Then what are some events that happen? What is sort of what happens? A lot of times we've talked about beginning, middle, and end of a story, right? In the beginning, we're introduced to the characters in the setting, and then we get a hint sort of what is the problem going to be. And so right at the beginning of the story, we found out that Brad does not put away his backpack. So then what happens in the middle of the story? What is sort of the action or the surprise or the silly thing that happened or the bad thing that happened because of the problem? So for us, what is it? It's that Nikki felt sick. So I'm going to say Nikki feels sick and runs to the nurse. She doesn't make it. And this is all complete sentences. She doesn't make it, and she throws up on Brad's backpack. Okay, so those are the sort of the events that lead us to, so that's all the stuff that happens in the middle of the story. And then at the end of the story is usually where we find out our solution. What was the solution, or how did Brad solve the problem of his backpack being left on the floor and getting thrown up on? What was the thing that solved it? Brad puts his backpack away. And I'm going to add the detail that he puts it away in his cubby. So Brad puts his backpack in his cubby where it belongs, right? Okay, so that's the solution of this story. So what you're going to do for this assignment is you are going to read a story, a narrative, a fictional text. It could be a fairy tale. If you're not able to read any stories, which you should be able to because you can get on Get Epic or Reading A to Z, or you probably have books at home. If not, you could watch a movie, only if you need to, only if you don't have any stories at home. I want you to write what the title is. I want you to make your story map. You're going to write the characters, who is in the story, where does the story take place, what is the setting. Then you're going to tell me what is the problem that's usually introduced in the beginning of the story, then what events happen in the middle of the story, and then how do they solve the problem, what is the solution. Okay, and that is your makeup work in addition to your Oreo paragraph that's in that other video. Okay, I miss you guys. I love you. Okay.